This is not the China most people imagine. Beyond the neon and the noise lies a far older country, one that has spent 5,000 years quietly hiding its most extraordinary places in plain sight. Some are temples that simply should not exist. Some are landscapes no map has ever fully drawn. Some are entire ways of living that the modern world has already forgotten how to record. What does China still keep hidden from us? Stay close. We are about to find out. Our journey begins where China first hides itself, in a realm of mist, granite, and silence. Here, mountains were once believed to touch the homes of the gods themselves, and temples were built where no rope, no scaffold, and no human reason should have allowed them. This is the China of ink and clouds, where Taoist hermits and Buddhist monks searched for immortality among peaks no map could fully draw. Our first stop is one of the most surreal places of worship still standing on Earth. Hidden within the cloud forests of Guizhou, two ancient stone temples sit perched on twin pinnacles more than 2,300 meters above the sea, connected by a single narrow bridge suspended over a sheer drop. This is Fanjing Shan, the Red Cloud's golden summit, a sacred site of Maitreya Buddhism since the Tang dynasty. Pilgrims still climb its nearly 9,000 stone steps, sometimes through clouds so thick the mountain itself seems to vanish. Recognized by UNESCO in 2018, the site has remained almost untouched by international tourism, partly because few outside China have ever heard its name. And when the morning mist rises, the two temples appear to float entirely separate from the earth below, as if waiting to drift away into the sky. From Fanjing's mist-bound peaks, our path now winds toward another sacred mountain, one whose silhouette has shaped Chinese art for centuries. This is Huangshan, the Yellow Mountains, often called the soul of Chinese landscape painting. For more than 1,500 years, its dramatic granite peaks, ancient twisted pines, and shifting sea of clouds have inspired emperors, poets, and Taoist hermits in equal measure. The mountain range holds 72 named peaks, some rising over 1,800 meters above the rolling fog below. It is said that the great Ming-era explorer Zhangjiajie, after visiting every famous mountain in China, declared that once a traveler has seen Huangshan, there is no longer any need to see another. Mist drifts through the granite spires in slow, breathing waves, swallowing entire valleys and revealing them again moments later. This is the China of ink and silk, captured in stone. Further south, in the misty heart of Hunan province, the world dissolves into something out of myth. This is Zhangjiajie, a forest of more than 3,000 vertical sandstone pillars rising sharply into clouds, some over 1,000 meters tall. The pillars were sculpted over hundreds of millions of years by the slow, patient work of rain and erosion, leaving only the hardest quartzite cores standing like petrified guardians of an ancient sea. In 2010, one of its towers was officially renamed Avatar Hallelujah Mountain, after director James Cameron revealed that Zhangjiajie inspired the floating mountains of Pandora. But long before any film, the local Tujia people had walked these mist-soaked trails, leaving behind stone houses, wooden bridges, and quiet shrines tucked between the giant stone columns. A glass skywalk now extends from one cliffside, offering a heart-stopping view straight down into the green abyss below. Would you dare step onto a transparent floor with no visible support, suspended 300 meters above the trees? For many travelers, Zhangjiajie is the moment they realize that China is not one country, but 1,000 worlds layered upon a single map. After the wild verticality of Zhangjiajie, the journey now slows, softens, and turns to water. In the southern province of Guangxi, the Li River winds for more than 80 kilometers through a forest of karst mountains, those rounded, mist-cloaked hills found on the back of every 20-yuan banknote. Formed over 300 million years by the slow dissolving of limestone, this landscape has been celebrated in Chinese poetry since the Tang Dynasty. Master painters of the Tang and Song dynasties traveled here for months at a time, and from their brushes emerged the very visual language of Chinese landscape art, the language of mist, water, and gentle stone that would echo across the next 1,000 years. Bamboo rafts drift past sleepy fishing villages where the rhythm of life has barely changed in 5 centuries. Water buffalo wade through flooded rice paddies, old fishermen mend silver nets beneath fig trees, and a child's laughter drifts across the water before vanishing into the distant hills. And on certain evenings, the cormorant fishermen still appear. Standing on slender wooden boats lit by oil lamps, they release trained birds that dive into the dark river and return with silver fish in their beaks, a practice now more than 1,000 years old. Can you imagine an entire art of fishing handed down across 40 generations, just so a single, quiet ritual on a quiet river would not be forgotten? This is the lyrical heart of southern China, a landscape that does not shout. It hums. From the karst rivers of the south, our path now turns west towards Sichuan, where divinity itself was once carved into solid rock. Where the Min and Dadu rivers meet in southern Sichuan, the cliffside has been shaped into a single, breathtaking act of devotion. Known as the Leshan giant Buddha, this 71-meter colossus is the largest stone-carved Buddha in the world. Construction began in the year 713, led by a Buddhist monk named Haitong, who believed the Buddha's calm presence would still the violent currents below. It took 90 years and 3 generations of craftsmen to complete. Curiously, after the carving was finished, the river truly did grow calmer, partly because the immense quantities of stone debris pushed into its waters had reshaped the riverbed itself. From the silent gaze of mountain Buddhas, our journey now turns to the work of those who built, painted, ruled, and dreamed. This is the China of the human hand, where every wall, every stone, and every garden hides a story of empire. Here, the country gathered its scholars, its emperors, its poets, and its silver craftsmen, and built worlds within worlds. Tucked into the green hills of southern Fujian, an architectural marvel rises like something from a forgotten civilization. These are the Fujian Tulou, massive circular fortresses built from rammed earth, stone and bamboo by the Hakka people, who fled war and famine in northern China nearly 1,000 years ago. Each Tulou houses an entire clan, sometimes more than 800 people, within concentric rings of communal living rooms, kitchens, ancestral shrines, and grain stores. Their thick earthen walls can withstand earthquakes, fire, and even cannon fire, while their perfectly circular shape reflects deep Confucian ideals of equality and shared responsibility. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2008, the Tulou stand today as one of the most remarkable examples of communal architecture anywhere on Earth. Following the Tulou River through western Hunan, our path now leads into Fenghuang, the Phoenix City. Founded over 1,300 years ago during the Tang Dynasty, Fenghuang is one of the best preserved ancient settlements in all of China. Its old quarter rises directly upon the riverbanks, where wooden stilt houses called Diaojiaolu lean out over the water, their reflections trembling beneath red lanterns at dusk. Fenghuang is home to the Miao and Tujia peoples, two ethnic minorities whose traditions of silver embroidery, Leshan music, and indigo dyeing have survived here virtually unchanged for centuries. It was on these very streets that Shen Kongwen, one of the most beloved Chinese writers of the 20th century, grew up, and whose lyrical novels would carry the quiet rhythm of Fenghuang into world literature. At dawn, fishermen still cast their nets from low boats beneath stone arch bridges, while elderly women wash silver-threaded cloth on smooth river stones. On festival nights, the river fills with hundreds of paper lotus lanterns released slowly into the current, each one a small wish carried downstream by candlelight. The town's name comes from an old legend that says a phoenix once flew above this valley and refused to leave, so enchanted was she by what she saw. Standing on the old wooden bridges at sunset, with the river glowing copper beneath you, can you not believe she might still be near? A short distance west of Shanghai, in the canal-laced city of Suzhou, the meaning of beauty itself was reimagined 1,000 years ago. Often called the Venice of the East, Suzhou was once home to the wealthiest scholars, poets, and retired officials of imperial China. Behind the unassuming walls of their houses, they built private gardens that have no equal anywhere in the world. Within each garden, nature is not displayed. It is recreated, miniaturized, and arranged so that every single step reveals a new poem. A single curved bridge might represent the journey of a sage. A weathered limestone rock might suggest an entire mountain. A small pond, reflecting the moon, becomes a window into the universe itself. Nine of these private retreats, including the humble administrator's garden and the lingering garden, are now recognized by UNESCO. They are not parks. They are silent meditations, written in water and stone. A little further south, in the city of Hangzhou, lies a place so deeply woven into Chinese culture that Marco Polo once called it the finest city in the world. This is West Lake, an oval mirror of water surrounded by misty hills, ancient pagodas, and weeping willows that have inspired poets, painters, and lovers for over 1,000 years. Its causeways, named after the great Tang poets Bai Juyi and Su Shi, were originally built as dikes that became silent walks through morning fog. And on the hills above the lake, hidden among soft green slopes, grow the leaves of Longjing, the dragon well tea. Hand-picked, pan-fired, and folded leaf by leaf, Longjing has been brewed in Hangzhou since at least the 8th century, and was once reserved for the emperor himself. A single cup carries the taste of chestnuts, jasmine, and quiet rainwater. Have you ever wondered how a single landscape, a single lake, and a single tea leaf could shape an entire civilization's sense of beauty? Far to the north, beneath the dry plains of Shan, an entire army has stood in silence for more than 2,200 years. Discovered in 1974 by farmers digging a well, the Terracotta army numbers over 8,000 life-sized soldiers, accompanied by horses, chariots, archers, and officers, all buried to guard the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of unified China. Every face is unique, sculpted with such individuality that scholars believe each warrior may have been modeled on a real soldier of the Qin dynasty. They were once painted in vivid color and armed with real bronze weapons, many still sharp after 2 millennia underground. Today, they remain the silent honor guard of an emperor who believed his rule should never end. From Xi'an, the path turns east, toward the city where the emperors of an entire civilization once held the world. This is the Forbidden City, the largest surviving wooden palace complex in the world, built between 1406 and 1420 under Emperor Yongle of the Ming dynasty. Spanning more than 72 hectares in the center of Beijing, it contains nearly 9,000 rooms, arranged according to strict principles of feng shui and cosmological symmetry. Every gate, hall, and corridor is aligned along a perfect north-south axis, mirroring the path of the sun, the stars, and the throne of the celestial emperor in the heavens above. For nearly 500 years, 24 emperors of the Ming and Qing dynasties ruled their realm from within these crimson walls, surrounded by concubines, eunuchs, scholars, and silent armies of servants. No ordinary citizen was ever permitted to enter, and even today, the great red doors of the Meridian Gate seem to hold a hush within them. Inside, the Hall of Supreme Harmony rises on a triple marble platform, once reserved for the most sacred imperial rituals, including coronations and the celebration of the Lunar New Year. To walk these silent courtyards at sunset is to feel the weight of every dynasty that came before, layered in lacquered wood, golden roof tiles, and the slow-setting light of an ancient civilization. But for all its grandeur, this palace is only the surface of what China truly is. To reach the deeper layers, our journey must now leave the cities behind. Far beyond the imperial cities, our path now turns westward, toward the silence of the Gobi Desert and the forgotten footsteps of the Silk Road. Here, faith was painted onto cliff walls. Mountains bled crimson and gold. And a single drop of water could mean the difference between a vanished caravan and a remembered name. Our first stop in this desert realm begins where the Hexi corridor narrows toward the heart of Gansu province. Here, the earth itself seems to forget gravity. Known as the Zhangye Danxia landform, this surreal stretch of mountains unfolds like a painter's canvas tilted on its side, its ridges streaked in deep red, mustard yellow, ocean blue, and forest green. These colors are no accident. Over 24 million years, tectonic shifts pressed layers of sandstone, mudstone, and iron-rich minerals into vertical walls, and then wind and water carved them into the silent waves we see today. For centuries, Silk Road merchants passed beneath these mountains, and many believed they had crossed into another world altogether. Not far from Zhangye, hidden in the southern reaches of Gansu, rises a strange and solitary peak shaped like a haystack. Locals named it Maijishan, the wheat stack mountain, but the true marvel lies on its sheer cliff face, where over 7,000 Buddhist sculptures have stood for nearly 1,600 years. Carved during the Northern Wei dynasty, the statues bear the soft, almond-eyed gaze of Central Asia, the flowing robes of India, and the meditative stillness of Han China, all blended on a single mountain wall. Narrow wooden walkways still cling to the cliff, swaying gently in the wind, inviting the most patient pilgrims to climb where caravans once prayed for safe passage. Deeper into the desert, where dunes the size of cathedrals shift with every breath of wind, an impossible secret has survived for over 2,000 years. This is Crescent Lake, a perfect curve of water, no more than a few hundred meters across, cradled within the rolling sands of Mingsha Mountain near the ancient Silk Road city of Dunhuang. It is fed by a hidden underground spring that has resisted the encroaching Gobi for centuries, refusing to vanish even as the desert tightens its grip. Around it, a Tang-era temple still stands, a final resting place for caravans on the easternmost edge of the Silk Road. Picture yourself standing here at sunset, when the dunes hum in the wind, and you will understand why ancient travelers believed this oasis was placed here by the hand of heaven itself. And as the desert sun sinks beyond the dunes, our journey turns one last time toward the great river that gave birth to everything we have seen. After temples in the clouds, palaces in the cities, and oases lost in sand, our journey now comes home to the wild heart of China. To the corners that feel oldest, the corners where the land itself has shaped how people live. Here, the country is not architecture or empire. It is rice and water, stone and wind, and the slow patience of a civilization that has lived close to the earth for 5,000 years. Far from the desert sands of Gansu, our path drops south to where the mountains of Yunnan fold into the borderlands of Vietnam. Here lies one of the most breathtaking landscapes ever shaped by human hands. This is the kingdom of the Han people, a community of farmers who, over the past 1,300 years, transformed an entire mountain range into an immense, living staircase of water and earth. Spread across more than 113 square kilometers, the Yuanyang rice terraces climb from foggy valleys all the way to ridgelines nearly 2,000 meters above sea level. The Han built their entire world around a single ingenious idea, using gravity itself as a tool. Spring water from the upper forests is channeled through hand-cut bamboo and stone, slowly cascading from one terrace to the next until every paddy receives its fair share. When the sun rises over flooded fields in winter, the terraces shimmer like shattered mirrors, painted in pink, violet, and gold by the changing sky. Each color is a season, a generation, a quiet act of harmony between people and the mountain. Imagine an entire civilization measured not in cities or palaces, but in centimeters of water rising silently across thousands of paddies. Thousands of kilometers to the north, where the soft green of Yunnan gives way to dry mountain and steppe, our journey reaches one of the most extraordinary creations ever shaped by human hands. Crossing more than 21,000 kilometers of mountain, grassland, and desert, the Great Wall is not a single wall, but a continuous lineage of fortifications built across more than 2,000 years. Its earliest stones were laid during the Warring States period, long before unified China even existed. Under Emperor Qin Shi Huang, separate walls were finally bound together into one vast defensive spine, intended to hold back the nomadic horsemen of the northern steppes. The wall we recognize today, with its towering brick ramparts and watchtowers, was largely rebuilt during the Ming Dynasty between the 14th and 17th centuries. More than 1,000,000 workers labored on it, and an unknown number died beneath its weight, their bones, according to legend, ground into the very mortar that binds the stones together. That mortar was later proven to contain sticky rice flour, one of the earliest known organic and mineral composites in the entire history of human engineering. In the high passes of Gansu, where desert winds erase entire villages, the wall continues its slow march toward the horizon, half buried in sand and silence. Have you ever wondered how something built by hand, stone by stone, could still outlast every single empire that created it? This is what the Great Wall really is. Not a wall, but a question carved into the spine of a continent. And so our journey reaches its final destination, the single river that gave birth to everything we have just seen. The Chinese people call it the Mother River, though it carries no gentleness in its waters. Stretching more than 5,000 kilometers across northern China, the Yellow River draws its color from the Loess Plateau, a vast landscape of fine, golden silt that has fed civilizations for over 5,000 years. At Hukou Waterfall, in the heart of the Loess Plateau, the river suddenly narrows from 300 meters down to 50, hurling itself over a stone ledge with a roar that can be heard from miles away. The mist rises in golden sheets, painted by the iron-rich earth carried within every drop. Imagine standing close enough to feel that ancient thunder vibrating through your chest, while the same waters that once carried the first emperors rush past your feet. To the Chinese, this is not simply a river. It is the bloodline of an entire civilization, the place where myth, history, and the first farmers all began. Every temple, every palace, every grain of rice in every paddy we have walked through, all of them began here, in the slow, golden current of this one river. And so our journey closes. After 17 places, 4 worlds, and a country that has spent 5,000 years quietly reinventing what civilization itself can mean. China is not a single landscape. It is an entire universe folded inside a single name. There is the China of clouds, where temples float above forests no map has ever fully drawn. The China of empires, where every garden, every wall, and every silent palace still remembers. The China of sand, where Silk Road oases hum beneath the dunes. And finally, the China of water, where the Yellow River still carries the silt of its ancestors. Everyone who arrives in China eventually finds their own China. Some come for the wildness, some come for the silence, some come for a single, impossible photograph at the edge of a misty cliff. Of all the places along this journey, which corner of China called to you the loudest? Tell us in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this journey moved something in you, follow us, because the next ancient world is already waiting on the horizon. See you on the next adventure.